So you want to indulge in something sweet, but you don't want to have too much left over and lying around, right? Well, I've got the perfect thing for you guys. Take a look at this little layered cake. It's only 6 inches around and not too tall. You're watching The Bear Pantry Show. Welcome to The Bear Pantry Show. If you want to learn how to cook in simple steps and have your dishes come out great the first time, then you're in the right place. Learn to make restaurant-style meals, comfort foods, and authentic Belizean dishes from basic ingredients. Child, let me tell you, I've been at it with this cake. I made this cake 3 times yesterday, and this is the next day, and I'm about to try it a 4th time. So what I've been trying to do, guys, is downsize the recipes. I don't know if you know this, but I'm writing my 3rd book. Well, technically it's my 4th book, but you guys know that I don't mention the book that's on Amazon except at the end of the video when I tell you not to buy it, because that distributor is still ripping me off. So my first book is actually this one. This is what I'm calling my first book, Beans and Rice Volume 2. And what I did, I took out a lot of the recipes out of that old book. I removed them and threw them away because they weren't like technically Belizean recipes, you know. And I put in more Belizean recipes. So this has 120 authentic Belizean dishes. This is my 2nd book, officially my 3rd. And this one just has stuff that I've done at the show that I think that I'm good at, that was fun to make, and I make them simple. The Pantry Laid Bare, okay? So now I'm working on the 3rd book, which I've been calling the mini book or the little bitty book because I'm downsizing the recipes. So I've been trying to downsize the milk cake recipe, but it's hard to downsize sometimes when the recipe is kind of odd. So in the full recipe, it says 2 1/3 cups of white sugar, I believe. So how do we half 2 1/3? So the 2 becomes 1, the 3rd becomes, let me check my chart. I'll show you guys this chart, okay? 1 tablespoon plus 1 1/4 teaspoons of sugar. So that's the sugar. Now the egg says 5 eggs. How do you have 5 eggs? I've been doing 2 whole eggs and 1 egg yolk, but conventional wisdom would say beat up a whole egg and just serve out half of it, which is like 2 tablespoons. I don't want to do that because somebody's going to come back and go, what do I do with the rest of that? They won't know that you could just cook the rest of it and eat just a little bit of egg. But if you separate the yolk from the white, they know what to do with the white. You know, they can put it aside to make a healthy omelet, you know, or they can, you know, make some kind of meringue, right? So I want to just use that egg yolk. So let me tell you what I did on the first cake, all right? So I used a cup plus 2 tablespoons plus 1 1/4 teaspoons of sugar. Now that's very complicated for people to do, right? So I didn't want it to be that way, but I did it. And then for the butter, I did a cup plus a tablespoon of butter. Then I did the 2 eggs, 2 whole eggs plus 1 egg yolk, an 1/8 teaspoon of pineapple extract, 1 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour, 1 1/2 teaspoons of baking powder, and 5 ounces of evaporated milk. Now that cake came out so beautiful in the way of taste and smell and texture and moisture, but the cake sunk a little bit on the top, and I don't like sunken cakes, especially being Belizean. Whenever you see a cake sink, they're like, ooh, who pregnant? It's like, no, I don't want that. And then when you cut it, it was kind of crumbly. You know, it's not going to serve up well at a party. No, the cake was delicious. And I'm asking you guys, if you want me to put that cake in the book and call it the best cake that ever flopped or something, or the best flop that ever was a cake, name it something like that so you guys could know that it's a flop cake. It's going to sink in the middle, but it's going to be moist and all that stuff. Let me know if you guys want me to put that in the book, okay? Other than that, I moved on. I tweaked the recipe, and all I changed was the milk. Instead of putting 5 ounces of milk, I put 4. It's still sunk, and this is the cake that we have here to show for it. Let me try to pick it up. It's just on a piece of tissue, but it's still sunk in the middle. See, it's all sunken. But the cake is still moist and delicious, okay? So all I changed was the amount of milk. So then I went crazy last night and got all scientific, and I researched a whole bunch of stuff about cake. Let me tell you what I learned. They said, I'm putting it as notes here, that they have 2 different type of cake formulas, the pound cake or the lean cake, which has less sugar than flour, and then you have the high ratio cake, which matches the flour and the sugar, or maybe it even has more sugar than the flour. Did I say that? What did I just say? The lean cake has less sugar. less sugar than flour. The high ratio has even amount of sugar or even more sugar than the flour. That's the one that we're making right here, the high ratio one. And it tells you rule of thumb, you're supposed to weigh it. I don't want to weigh anything. I don't like using a scale. See, I have a scale of it. I don't like using a scale. I like to measure. So we're supposed to have more sugar than the flour. So it ended up being 1 cup of sugar only. Let me see what I put here. 1 cup of sugar only to half a cup of butter. So not half a cup plus one tablespoon, right? 2 eggs, not the 2 plus the 1 yolk. The pineapple extract is the same, 1.5 cup of flour. I already knew this cake was gonna be bad because that's too much flour for this amount of cake. But they did bring the baking powder down to 1 teaspoon, not 1.5. And I think that made a difference for the cake not to sink. So it didn't sink, okay? And then 4 ounces of milk. Let me show you what I got here. I hope you guys are not bored yet, but I really wanted to teach this while I'm doing the book. This is not a bad cake. It didn't sink. It's spongy. Its taste is not as sweet, but not bad. But it's just really not moist like the other 2 cakes. This is not something my family would like to eat, but maybe you'd like it. I'm going to try to remedy this cake before this video is done. All right? Stay to the end and I'm going to try to remedy this cake, do something fancy with it and see what we can do with this cake because it's not a bad cake. I like that it did not sink. But I just don't like that it wasn't moist enough. All right. So what we're going to do is try the cake a 4th time. You guys going to bear with me, right? So for this time around, we're going to do 1 cup plus 1/8 for the sugar. We're going to do half a cup of butter and I'm tempted to put the 1 tablespoon. Let me think it through though. Okay. I'll tell you guys. Then we're going to do 2 eggs and we're going to do 1 egg yolk. I'm going to get that in a little while. And then for the flour, we're going to go back to 1.25 cups of flour, not 1.5. And 1 teaspoon of baking powder, not 1.5 teaspoon. And then 4 ounces of milk and of course the pineapple extract. It's not a whole bunch of ingredients for this cake, all right? So the first thing that I'm going to do, I'm baking a baguette right now. I'm testing the 1 baguette recipe for the little bitty book. The book's going to be named something about small batches, all right? So, yeah, I'm going to cream the butter and sugar. I'm going to tell you how long I cream it for. Then I'm going to add the 2 eggs and the egg yolk 1 at a time. And then we're going to put in the extract. We're going to mix the flour with the baking powder. We're not going to put no salt because the butter's already salted. If you're not using a salted butter, put like 1/4 teaspoon of salt in it. And then we're going to alternately add the dry and the wet. We're going to bake this baby off for like 40 minutes. We're going to allow it to cool completely. We're going to let it cool in the pan for like 5 minutes first, then let it cool completely on the rack. Lord, I hope it doesn't sink. And then you're going to see me again when we're cutting that cake open. Pray for me. All right, guys, the cake has cooled down enough, but it needs to be cut a little bit. I'm not really great at this part. Jada is better. I'm trying to eyeball whatever's swelling. Looks pretty good where I cut. Ooh, yeah, that sits much better. Then in between, I think I'm gonna put the jam, okay? It would be cool if you had some lemon curd or some boiled milk, because this cake in the recipe book is actually going to be for boiled milk cake, okay? Let's put some jam in the middle. This is strawberry Smuckers, don't you know? Get this from Costco. So we don't have to cut this one because it's going to sit bottom to bottom. What do you guys think so far? Don't throw this away, okay? You guys like it so far? I wish I had the boiled milk to put on it right now, but this is just about the cake today, okay? Okay, so what I'm gonna do is cut into this baby. Should I cut with this bread knife? Let's see. Just gonna cut out a slice, okay? The knife is cutting through it really, really well. It's not crumbly. Ooh! Oh! Oh! What a beauty. I got it. I got it. I gotta go take my picture. Child. What do I need to do to hold that up so it doesn't fall in? I need to put a little piece of tissue. You're gonna see the tricks that we do sometimes. So this is it. This is it. This is the perfect cake recipe. We're gonna call it the perfect cake in the book too. And if you want the sloppy mess that's tasty, let me know. Let me know if you want that in the book too. We'll call it the flop cake that actually tastes good. We'll call it something like that. All right, so let me go take my thumbnail picture. And then when I come back, we're gonna have the, well, I was gonna say I was gonna have Joe taste it, but Joe's not feeling well today, so let me not bother him. I'll taste it. I'll be back. All right, guys, let's go ahead and taste this cake. I'm just gonna break a piece off. Let me get the piece with jam because I'm still on my eating plan. I'm never gonna be off my eating plan. I think I got it. It only took me 4 tries. I'm patting my own self on the back because it only took me 4 tries. But I got it. And for all the frustration that I went through, guys, I learned so much about cake making. In one night, I learned so much about cake making. Did I tell you that the third cake, the one that's less sweet, the one that I completely changed everything, that one didn't get really brown on the top. It was light in color. And when I checked on Google, it said, my sister knew an old lady that said Google instead of Google. It said that insufficient sugar or insufficient egg. As long as the cake is not undercooked, and it wasn't, the toothpick came out clean, it's insufficient sugar or eggs. So that's why I added that extra egg yolk back in, and I added that little bit more sugar. That 1/8 cup, which is 2 tablespoons of sugar, did wonders for this cake. This by far has to be the perfect cake. I'm gonna go write up this recipe right now, and I'm gonna screenshot it and send it to my sister, send it to my cousins, send it to all the family members that wanna make this little mini cake, and they'll come back and tell me if they ran into any problems. That's how I do my recipes. I have people test it, okay? You guys can test too and come back and tell me what you think. I'm gonna have this recipe written in the description below. I'm not gonna write all the other recipes because I already told you what all I put in there, right? This one, you come back and tell me if you made it. Get the little 6-inch layered tins and make this beautiful cake. I'm gonna try to save this and put milk on it or something for the weekend. Thank you so much for staying to the end of the video, guys. I want to show you what I'm doing to try to salvage the third cake, all right? The one where it's a little bit more dry and less sweet. So because it is a layered cake, I was tempted to separate them and do what I'm going to do to it, you know, to 2 separate cakes, but I'm going to keep it as a layer, okay? So I already cut the cake in half and then in quarter. So what I did was just take it apart, use some leftover cream cheese frosting that I had from Easter from when I did a carrot cake, just spread it on the bottom like so, and then put some in between to act as glue to glue the cake back together. And of course the cake wasn't sitting right. It's kind of wonky because cakes will do that, you know, it'll bulge in certain areas and on the top. I'd rather my cake do that than to sink, okay? So I put the glue in between, well, the frosting, and then put the cake back together, and then I put it in this back in the cake tin that it was baked in. Remember, it was 2 tins though, right? So it's a tall cake. Well, before I put it back in the tin, I went ahead and used a big serving fork and just kind of poked holes in there, okay? So I want the holes to be big. So now I have this Jello. Well, it's not Jello. It's gelatin. It's somebody else's, Jolly Rancher, I guess is the brand. And that's the 3.5 pack or whatever, 3.5 ounce pack. I've got some boiling water. Ooh! Got some boiling water here. I poured it too fast, guys. Just 1 cup of the boiling water. Get my towel. And I'm just going to go ahead and mix this completely. A lot of people like move too fast with Jello. You want to mix this until you don't hear the sand on the bottom. The granules or whatever you call those. You guys get the idea. I'm just pouring the gelatin right into those big holes that I made. Then this cake is going to go on the fridge till the Jello sets. So how long does it take to set Jello? Like 3 hours, right? But I think it takes that long when you're doing 1 cup of hot water to 1 cup of cold. Remember, we just did 1 cup of hot water. It might be ready quicker. I don't know. We'll check. See you guys in the twinkling of an eye, but really in a few hours. A few hours later. I don't know how many hours, guys. It's at least 2 or 3. I'm just spreading the rest of the cream cheese frosting that I have on the top of the cake. So this cake now has become a cold cake. Okay, because it has the cream cheese frosting and all that jello. I'm gonna leave this part uncovered just so I could cut into it. Try not to cut into my pan. Come on. So the rest of it will be easy to get to. Oh, that's pretty. I left some behind because remember the cake was the drier out of the batch, right? See how much drier? See how it crumbled? Makes for a real pretty cake. Gelatin gives it a really nice flavor. Look how much cake I have in this house. That's the main thing right now. I got too many cakes in this house. Alright guys, I'm going to save this one in the fridge till the weekend, and then I'll put some type of frosting on it. Probably going to be some boiled milk, and then we will have it as a treat on Saturday, because that's the only day that I eat my treats, on Saturday. Okay, so if you liked what I produced here today, this is a different type of show because I didn't want to just like make the cake and it came out bad and then just throw the video away like I normally do when things come out bad. I wanted to try and I tried 4 times, and this is what I do in, you know, trying to be perfect here for the show. But we finally got perfection right here. This is gorgeous. What a gorgeous cake. Moist, soft, spongy. You know, you can cut it at a part. It's not crumbling to the floor like this is crumbling right here. All right, so if you like what I produce, go ahead, give me a like. I look forward to your comments. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell so you know when I upload another video, and I'll see you guys again in the next one. Bye. Remember guys, we are not buying this book, because if you do, the only people that are making money from that book are my ex-distributor and Amazon. Pick up this book instead. This is my Belizean cookbook. It has 120 authentic Belizean dishes that I've done on the show already, but now you can have it in print so you can follow along and your dishes will come out perfect each time. Hot off the presses, this is my second cookbook, guys. It's called The Pantry Laid Bare, and I named it that because I laid everything on the line when I picked the recipes for this book, all right? 111 delicious dishes from basic ingredients. To purchase, just check below on any of my videos and you'll see the different methods of payment and also the shipping. Thanks guys. A big piece. This is a big man piece.
Like me? If you ever make anything for me, make it like that.
Well, Joel likes this recipe. Look at all the jelly that left there.